If we're going to keep it a buck, I think it's safe to say some individual got the seat because they held something. Not because they knew more than everyone else in the room. Nah. Not because their strategy deck was sharper. Not because they had the right credential, the right network, or even the right pedigree. They held something. Pause. They held the team together when the SVP fractured in front of the board. They held the deal together when the client called their partner the wrong name. They even held their family together while their parent was in the hospital and the quarterly was due on Friday. You couple that with holding the marriage together while one of the spouse's parent is facing a life-altering illness and the funding round had not even closed. Man, you just what you just held. That's all you did. You just held. And now you are what, 43, 48, 46, or you in your 50s. And the holding has quietly become the entire job description. Not in the way that's written on your LinkedIn profile. In the way that is true. So, here's the question I want to present in front of you today. And I do not want you to answer it out loud. I want you to answer it in the part of you that goes quiet on a day like Sunday night. You heard? What does it feel like to be the one carrying everyone? Hold that thought, because we are going to come right back to it. What's good with you? I'm Ibrahim Dafe, and this is the I Don't Subscribe, presented by House of Lone Wolf. Now, if you are new here, I want to say thank you for taking the time to rock with us. I know it takes something to get used to. I'm a BX, but what can I say? But just rock with me. Especially today, because today is one of those ones where if you let it land, it lands. Now, if you've been rocking with me already, then you know we don't do no theory. We don't do no inspiration. We name things. So let's just name this one. Here's what nobody told you about why you got the seat. Somewhere, let's say, what? Your fourth, maybe your seventh year as a professional. And I do not really care what industry right? But something happened in the room you were in. Maybe a senior person was not where they needed to be physically, or maybe emotionally, or ethically. And the room needed someone to keep the wheels on while everyone pretend not to notice. You did it. You stayed late. You answered the email that the partner should have. You closed the loop on the thing that was pretty much about to blow up. You did the work. And not only that, you did the managing of the work. You did the unglamorous, unseen labor of making sure nobody important saw how close to the edge that this operation actually was. And what happened? You guessed it. Somebody noticed. And not what you did exactly, something quiet. They noticed that the room was always calm when you were in it. They noticed that things did not just catch on fire on your watch. They noticed that the difficult conversations got handled. You know, the high maintenance client got managed. The angry junior associate got de escalated. And the cross functional disaster got coordinated. As a result, you got promoted. You thought it was for your competence. On the one hand, you would like to say some of it was, yes, but a large part of it was something else. A large part of it was that the people above you, right, they discovered they could put more weight on you without it breaking you. Mm. And once the system discovers that, the system does not stop testing the limit. You heard? There's a pattern that shows up across executives in this position. It is not about birth order, but it borrows the shape. I want you to think about the oldest sibling in an immigrant family. I'm talking about the one whose parents arrived without English, without context, without a map. The one who, by 12 years old, was translating doctor's appointments and signing school forms and making sure the younger kids had lunch and the bills got paid on time. Sadly, that kid did not get a thank you note. They got the next responsibility. And every responsibility they absorb taught the system one thing and one thing only. That one right there? Yeah. We can put more here because it holds. As a lover of sport, I see it in every championship roster. There's always a player who is not the most talented, not the highest paid, not the franchise face, but the locker room is different when that player is in it. The coaches will oftentimes lean on them in ways the box score never captures. The system grows up around their reliability until the system requires their reliability. And when that player gets tired, when their knee finally goes, when the body says enough, the franchise at times does not know how to function without that player because the franchise was built on a quiet load. Nobody costed out. I believe that is the executive most of you became. Not the franchise face, not the franchise architecture. I see the same thing too in hip hop. I'm a lover of hip hop. You will discover that here. That every successful label had that one artist. The artist who is not a star, but who is the reason the studio is always calm for the star to record. The one who will answer the calls at 3 in the morning. The one who will navigate the ego. The one who will find a job for the cousin so the cousin will stop calling the star. They never end up on the magazine cover. Man, that's crazy. They end up on the credits in a position that does not exist in the organizational chart. Some of these companies cannot afford to lose them. But these companies has also never offered them the corner office. You know why? Because the corner office is what the star gets. You are not the star. You are the room the star walks into. You have handled everything, every crisis, every board, every room that needed someone to hold it together. You held it. Nobody asked what holding it cost you. I want to assure you that House of Lone Wolf was built for the executive who has been paying that bill alone. We don't do theory. We don't do inspiration. What we do, we diagnose what your training never gave you language for. So this is not coaching. This is not therapy. This is the work for the leader whose frameworks ran out somewhere around year 10 and who has been operating on instinct ever since. I want you to start with the 7-minute executive crisis framework. It is complimentary, no pitch involved, just 7 minutes. It names what you have been carrying. houseoflonewolf.com. You heard? Because you already know if this is for you. You heard? Now, let me say the thing nobody in your circle is going to say to you. Being the strongest person in every room is costing you specific. And the cost is not what you think it is. Nah. See, you may think the cost is exhaustion, or you think the cost is missing the game, the canceled date night, the vacation you cut short because what? The merger went sideways. Those are real. Those are not the deepest cost. The deepest cost is that you have stopped being legible to the people closest to you. Your spouse does not know what you actually do all day. It get like that. Your closest friend, if you have any, do not know what you are actually thinking. Your kids, if you have kids, know a version of you that is the person who came home tired. And if your parents are still alive, well, they know a version of you that you carefully filtered for them 3 holidays ago. The full version of you, the one that has been making the calls and reading the rooms and absorbing the impact for months, years, if not decades. That version is known to nobody. And not because the people who supposedly love you wouldn't want to know. It's because the version of you that walked through what you walked through to get that seat, it's the version you cannot translate to a person who has not walked through anything similar. And so you stop translating. With that said, you kept showing up. You kept being kind. You kept being the person they expected. But the cost is somewhere along the line, you became inaccessible to yourself. That is what isolation actually is in the C-suite. Not loneliness. Admittedly, it is unsayable. There's a second layer to this. And I am going to be careful here because this is somewhat delicate. The strongest person in every room is not just absorbing pressure from above. They are also absorbing pressure from below. And the team that episode 18 described, if you haven't heard episode 18, you can always go back and listen to it. But that team that was described was more about a careful team. That team was a protecting itself team. That team has reorganized around minimized exposure. That team has a specific relationship to the strongest person in the room. They protect you from having to know how scared they are. They do not tell you when the deadline is impossible because they do not want to be the person who said the impossible word. They do not tell you when the client is pulling out because they want to fix it first. They do not tell you when the senior engineer is interviewing because they hope it will resolve before you have to deal with it. By the time the news gets to you, the news is already half managed. You probably think this is loyalty. And some of it is, yes, some of it is also that they have learned you are the absorber. The role they are playing in your system is the role of not adding more weight to the person who already carries the most. If you think about it, it sounds compassionate until you realize that the cost of being protected from bad news is being the last person to know things you needed to know early. You are not getting the full picture. You think you are, but you are not. Because the system has organized itself around your strength. And the cost of having a system organize itself around your strength is that the system stops being able to function honestly. There are two moves. I'm only going to give two moves because if I give more than two, then it becomes a checklist. And I don't subscribe to a checklist. I want this to be the thing you actually do this week. The first move, right? The first move. Now, I don't subscribe to this, but if you subscribe, this is going to be the first move. Find one person and one person only who you can tell the actual truth to. Not your spouse. Your spouse is too close. Not your therapist. Your therapist is a service. Not your team. Your team is the system. I mean, someone who has walked through something analogous to what you have, right? I'm talking about another founder who has lost a company, a partner who has been through a regulatory event, a senior leader in a different industry who has held the same shape of weight you have been holding. Man, find that person if you subscribe to that. That's crucial. Find that person. Make that call. And in that conversation, say one sentence that you have not said in months or years. Something like, I am tired in a way I do not know how to name. That is the entire move. You do not need a plan. You do not need a solution. You need this sentence to just leave your body in the presence of someone who will not flinch when it arrives. This is the first move. The second move, stop solving the problem your team brings you the first time they bring it to you. Let me say it again. Stop solving the problem your team brings you the first time they bring it to you. I know that sounds paradoxical. I know it's backwards, but I want you to just listen for a moment. Every time you absorb a problem on first contact, essentially you are teaching the team one thing. We do not have to develop the muscle to solve these ourselves because the senior person will catch it. You think you are being helpful? You are training learned helplessness in people you claim to respect. Next time someone brings you a problem, say one sentence that you probably have not said in a long time. What do you think we should do? And then, and this is the hard part, you wait. Wait through the awkwardness. Wait through their attempt to bounce it back to you. Wait through the moment they realize you are not going to take it from them. You dig? Wait until they actually tell you what they think. And then you can engage with what they think. But you engage with their thinking, not as a replacement for their thinking. You did? It's going to feel somewhat slower in the short term. It is much faster in every meaningful time frame, longer than 90 days. And it will definitely redistribute the weight you have been carrying alone for however long. So let me bring you back to where we started. You held it, pause, every room, every crisis, every quiet emergency that nobody else saw because you saw it first. And I want to say something to you that nobody in your professional life is positioned to say. You did something most people cannot do. And it cost you something most people cannot see. The cost is not a failure. The cost is the receipt. It is the proof that you actually carried what you carried. But there's a question you have to sit with now. How much longer can you keep paying this bill before the bill starts being paid out of something you cannot replace? Think about that. Until next time, I'm Ibrahim Dafe, and I don't subscribe to the idea that being the strongest person in every room is the same thing as being well. You dig? And I'm out.